And this soil genesis and micropathology, it has 4 units,
Okay,
and
sir.
it has 4 units, 4 sections. If
Mm.
you take the syllabus of this, so unit first is consist of unit first and second, that will be taken by me, and unit third and fourth, that will be Dr. Rachid will be taking the classes pertaining to this course. Uh, this still, I'm sharing the slide. Is it visible to you?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this SSC 604, it's the soil genesis and micropathology. As I told you that it has 4 units. Unit first is the evolution and composition of Earth, how the Earth evolved, and what are the composition of the Earth. How a brief we will take up the brief history, how the because why we study the Earth, because soil is a part of the Earth. It is on the it is the upper portion of the Earth crust, that is in the contact point of the atmosphere and lithosphere. So that's why we try to explore the past history of the earth, how the evolution of the earth has taken place. Of course, in brief, more detail we will be dealing with the actual soil for which we are interested. So this is evolution and composition of the earth, and then for the division of the earth sphere, what are the various division? Then composition of the earth crust, and then relative abundance of the rocks in the earth crust. What are the various abundance, various type of the rocks which are present in the earth crust, because earth was initially the molten magma, and when this solidification of the molten magma takes place, then there is formation of these rocks, and particularly the first rock, what we call it the primary rock, igneous rocks, that form, and that of course that is the source of the another two type of the rocks that we know, sedimentary and metamorphic rocks. So what are the abundance of these rocks? This is unit first. Then unit second pertain to weathering and soil formation. What are the various weathering agent? How the this, because why we study the weathering, because these rocks, they supply the raw material for the formation of the soil. It is the rocks which is composed up of the minerals. So if the time permits, we will also hurriedly go through the rocks and minerals also. What are the various rocks and what are the various minerals? Because that is in link with it. While you are dealing with the pedology and you are going to study the soil formation, so of course you have earlier studied the rocks and minerals. So I will try to have a cursory look of the various rocks, minerals, because this weathering of the rocks, weathering is simply the disintegration and decomposition of the rocks, maybe by chemical or physical weathering agents, that leads to the formation of the parent material. Parent material is the raw material for the formation of the soil. Jenny defined the parent material state of the soil system at the time zero of the soil formation. That it means it only contains the inorganic material. Inorganic material means what? Mineral matter.
Mineral matter.
Yeah, rocks only contain minerals. That's why after weathering of the rocks, the loose unconsolidated material, that is fine. That what we call as the parent material, that contain the mineral matter or inorganic material. Of course, when addition of the organic matter takes place. What is the source of this organic matter? Biosphere,
Yes.
of course,
Plant
animal and
related.
plant kingdom.
Hmm.
So by this, these are the source of the organic material. When this is added in the parent material, then it become a mixture of the. That's why soil is called as the heterogeneous mixture of the mineral and organic material. So then the inception of the life also starts, because carbon is the food for microorganism. When organic matter is added in the soil in the form of the raw organic material, it is added, then there is inception of the life, what we call it the life of the soil, and which plays a very vital role pertaining to the growth of the plant, because various nutrients which are present either in organic source or inorganic source, mineral matter, they are made available only when the soil is healthy. Soil is healthy means what? When the soil is biologically active, when the microbes which are present in the soil, they are active, because all the nutrient availability process, they are mediated by the biochemical reactions.
Reactions.
So if these microorganisms, they will be active, and when microorganism will be active in the soil, when there
When
is
there is
abundant.
suborganic matter.
Yes, definitely. When there is abundant food is available, and
Hmm.
food is the organic material. Carbon is the food for microorganisms. That's why we generally say that the for the health of the soil, for healthy soil means the soil which possesses all the property to produce better agricultural crops, to have high productivity. That's what we call it the healthy soil. So physical, chemical, biological properties of the soils are channelized in such a way by this wonderful material that gives the higher productivity of the crops. Whatever input that you add, that you get the maximum input utilization efficiency by this wonderful product, organic material. So that's why we'll study about the weathering of the rocks, and then the further the soil formation, how from the formation of the parent material, how the formation of the soil takes place. So first stage is the soil formation from weathering to the parent material, and then when the parent material, there is addition of the organic material, then in due course of time there is formation of the soil. Soil formation means what? The formation of the morphological feature in the soil. Then upon this parent material, there is action of the soil forming factor and soil forming processes, and that leads to the formation of the various horizontal layers in the soils. And these horizontal layers, that's why where is the morphology of the soil? If you see the soil at the surface, then soil appears almost same. But if you dug the profile and observe its feature, then the real feature of the soil, like ours have hand, nose, eyes, it's our morphological feature. Plants has branches, leaves, stems. These are the morphological features. Like, where is the morphological feature of the soil? It is below the surface of the earth.
Yes.
Soil, because of the cultivation, it appears uniform. But if you go even at a farm level, there may be 10-15 type of the soil. If you study the morphology, and these morphological features which arises in the soil, these are the index of the soil development. When we talk of the soil development or maturity of the soil have distinct horizon. It has the index of the development. It has the indicator of the development. It means soil is well developed. And how these horizons develop in the soils, these horizons which are present in the soil, how their development takes place? By the percolating water.
Yes.
Water percolation is a very important phenomena through the soil, through the upper surface of the soil, the water which enter into the soil by infiltration and it percolates downward. This acts as a conveyor belt. It acts as a mechanism that in such a way that it transport various mineral and organic material which are soluble either in the form of the solution or in the form of the suspension.
Suspension.
They moves to the lower layer. Okay, of course that depends upon the amount of the water available. Various the texture of the parent material, what is the coarseness, whether it is the fine texture or coarse texture, the chemical condition of the soil, the biological activity, biochemical condition of the soils, so various things upon which it depends. In Rajasthan, the water is little. That's why we generally found this gypsic horizon, calcic horizon, say within 1 meter, say at 1.5 meters, these horizons, because water is not enough to leach them further, to leach them down. In high rainfall areas, maybe this calcic horizon may be lower, maybe more than 1 meter. By very high rainfall area, maybe more than 1.5 meters, this calcic depth of accumulation of the calcic horizon. So that depends upon. And while moving through the profile, this various constituent of the soil, mineral and organic constituents, that depends upon where maybe that some constituents are soluble at upper surface, but in subsurface, because of the change in pH, they become insoluble and they are deposited there. Maybe some constituents which are very highly soluble and the rainfall is very high, parent material is sandy, which allow the intense percolation. They may leach out of the profile, entire profile. Say for example, in high rainfall area, generally soils are acidic in nature. If you go any high rainfall areas, what is the nature of soil?
Acidic.
Acidic. Why?
Because
Because
most of the places are leached out of the profile.
leached out. So that is the because these basic cations, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium, which are released, these are the part of the inorganic constituent of the soil. If you see the composition of the inorganic, whatever the products that will be released either from the inorganic material or organic material of the soil. And if you remember, if you recall the basic composition of the soil, what is the basic composition of the soil? It's the oxygen, silicon, iron, aluminum, sodium, potassium, calcium, magnesium. They constitute almost 98% portion of this inorganic material of the soil.
Yes.
Okay, that's why while studying the pedology, while studying the soil development, while studying the development of the morphological feature in the soil, you have to also take care of fate of these elements because they are in abundance. Suppose you are searching for gold, you are searching for platinum, maybe they may be in very minute quantity, but their quantity is so trace that they are not visible. But the elements which are in abundance, so generally we see what is the fate of silica, whether it has deposited in the upper horizon or leach out. What is the fate of we always talk, what is the, suppose if you remember the pargellization, laterization, what is the fate of the iron and aluminum, sesqui oxide, okay? What is the fate of the basic cation? What is the fate of these organic acids, whether they are being produced, they are being polymerized, they are being deposited, or there is very high rate of the decomposition, they are not at all deposited in the soil as in tropical soil. Although the rate of the addition of the organic matter in tropical soil is very high, but because of the very high temperature and moisture, high rainfall, the rate of the decomposition is also very high. That's why the accumulation is very less. Okay. So if you are talking about the development of the soil, means of course you are talking about the various component of the soil, what are the various constituents of the soil? Mineral and organic material. So what are the various components present in mineral and organic matter, and what is their fate of movement? How, whether they are deposited into the subsurface layer or B horizon or B C horizon, or they leach out the profile, that determines the fate of the development of the morphological feature in the soil. Okay, and
Yes.
these all are governed by various pedogenic factors and processes that are prevailing in that area. Okay, now comes the factor and process. What are the soil farming factors? There are 5 soil farming factors. Okay, the
Yes, sir.
climate, biosphere, the parent material, relief or topography, and time. These are the 5 factors that governs the entire, and these soil farming factors, they also set the stage, they also set the course for the operation of the soil farming processes,
Yes, sir.
soil farming processes that are operating in that particular area. So that is very important. So any development in soil or any morphological emergence of the morphological attribute in the soil, that always depends upon the combined interaction of the soil farming factors and soil farming processes. That's why भाई क्लास ले रहे हैं आप लोगों को इतना होना चाहिए क्या, तो क्लास ले रहे हैं तो थोड़ा रुक जाइए, छोड़ जाइए, मैं कर दूंगा, ले जाइए. So any soil farming factors and soil farming processes that are operating in that particular area, actually that determines the fate of the movement of these mineral and organic material in the soil. Soil farming processes are nothing but simply the reorganization and rearrangement of the soil constituents.
Yes.
So these all things you will study in detail. This weathering, soil formation, this will be covered. Factors and pathogenic process. What are various soil farming factors? Where are various pathogenic process? Pedogenesis and taxonomy of the Indian soil. Then we will study the taxonomic classification of the soil, the Indian soils, then the other soils, and of course about the soil taxonomy. Although soil taxonomy, it's a big aspect, about 800-page book, but definitely we'll go through what are the salient feature of the soil taxonomy, how the soil taxonomy development, what was the need of to develop the soil taxonomy, how its development, how it was initiated, how it started, what is the basic structure of the soil taxonomy, uh, what are the various orders in the soil taxonomy, what are the nomenclature system. We'll go through that in this course definitely. Then the unit third is the that Dr. Rachit will be taking assessment of soil profile development by morphological, mineralogical, and chemical analysis. And unit fourth, it is the micropedological feature of the soil, their structure, fabric analysis, role in genesis, and classification. How this micropedological features that arises, that appears in the soil, how they are helpful in classification of the soil. So it's a small 2-credit course, 2 plus 0. Only 2 lectures are there. That's why you will find there is 2-hour class in a week. 1 hour I will be taking, and another will be the Rakshit. There is no practical class in this. It is, that's why it is 2 plus 0. Okay. So
Yes.
let us, with this brief background, let us take up this pedology. And before taking the pedology, a very important saying that has been taken from the Vedaj scripts, Sanskrit script, that I like very much. That is, upon this hand, I will start by quoting this. Upon this handful of soil, our survival depends. Husband it, and it will grow our food, our fuel, our shelter, and surrounds us with beauty. Abuse it, and the soil will collapse, die, taking humanity with it. This is, I think, express everything about importance of the soil. How the soil is important for society. You must have heard that the civilizations has started where water and soil were good, particularly the river valley, in the valleys of the river where productive soils were there. And the nation which have not taken care of their soil, there the humanity has vanished. The civilization has abolished. It has collapsed. So this is such a important. This quote shows express the importance of the soil. How important soil is. Why soil is important? Because it is a non-renewable resource. It is the thin productive layer over the surface of the earth. And once this layer is lost, you know how time taking this soil formation is. Even a formation of the 1 inch of the soil, it may take 500, 600 years. So erosion is against the ethics of the soil formation. The erosion of the soil, the rate of the erosion is very fast, whereas rate of the formation of the soil is very slow. That's why soil is a precious resource, because it is a mixture of the organic matter, mineral and organic matter. If you go to the lower layer, the only the mineral matter is there. That is not so productive. That is not biologically active. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
because of this wonderful material, organic material, soil is biologically active. That's why it has the ability to produce. And once this thin layer from the surface is lost, then everything, you have lost everything. That's why we should care this natural resource, the gift of the God that has been given, and that this is very important. And before we start the pedology, let us remember this man, father of soil science, Vasily Vasilyevich Dakuche, who died in early age. See, I think almost it was in 1946 to 1846 to 1903. So in the age of the probably 57 years, okay, he has died.
Yes.
So it was his work that he is finding the place. We are remembering because he was the father before the Dakuchev. In nutshell, I say that before Dakuchev, soil was considered as simply the weathered product of the land. It was considered a loose, unconsolidated material. It was simply considered as a parent material. Geologists consider soil, that is the material that they excavate and to reach their material of their interest in the lower layer. So it was considered a debris. It was not known that soil has organized body, soil has organized morphological feature, soil has its own synthesis, its own distinct formation in nature. That was discovered by the Dakuchev, and that has started the beginning of the science of the soil. That's why Dakuchev is called as the father of the soil science. Let us take the origin and composition of the earth crust in very brief. As we know that we live in the universe, and this universe is composed up of the countless number of the galaxies. What are galaxies? These are star clusters, and the galaxy in which we live, that is called Milky
Milky
Way.
Way.
Yeah. So this Milky Way, it is a disc-shaped revolving cluster, and which one galaxy, Milky Way, it contains as many as 100 billion stars of various shapes and sizes. And out of this 100 billion star, our sun is one of the stars. and that constitute the solar system. And this solar system has sun and its 8 planets. So how big a universe is? It's infinite. Universe is infinite. Many galaxies are there. One galaxy in which we live is a Milky Way. That itself contains 100 billions of the stars. And our star, the sun, the solar system in which we live, that is modest shape, modest size, and modest brightness than others. There are so many stars bigger than sun. So the solar system, it is consist of the sun and these planets, 8 planets. And what are the planets? This is the Mercury, Venus, Earth, Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Neptune. The Earth is the planet upon which we live. Earth planets, these are the colder planets, and these are the very warm planets. And if you go from farther from the sun, the coldness increases. So this Earth upon which we live, which contains the life, because we have the oxygen and water, and origin, how the origin of the Earth has taken place, that is important, because it is the upper surface of the Earth, that is our soil. So it is the Earth planet which upon which we live, which was, this Earth was actually initially in molten state, and when the solidification of this molten, what we call a molten state, what we call as the molten magma, and when this solidification of the molten magma has taken place in due course of time, in geological time, and this solidification, this water and oxygen makes the possible for origin of the life. If there is water, any planet that contain water and oxygen, there is every possibility of the origin of the life, because that is the essential component for the origin of the life. And this molten magma, although the cooling of the earth, it become very hot, but this molten magma is still present in the core of the earth, which often you can see in the form of the volcanic eruptions wherever the earth surface is thin or big. Where is earth surface is thin? Particularly in the sea area, because there is the, if you see in the sea, there is many volcanic eruptions in the sea itself, or in the sea area which are very below to the sea surface. This Japan, Ecuador, Colombia, Indonesia, Philippines, there you will see the often volcanic eruptions that are taking place. So wherever, because in the core still there is molten magma, and whenever there is weak point, this molten magma tries to come out. So if you look interior to the, what is the interior of the earth? It is consist of the 3 concentric rings. There are 3 rings in the earth, and these rings are called crust, mantle, and core. This crust, mantle, and core, these are the 3 concentric rings which are present in the earth. Crust is 5 to 56 kilometer, whereas mantle is more than 2, it is about 2,900 kilometer, and core is, the thickness of the core is 3,500 kilometer. That is still thicker than all the core which contain the molten magma. It means there is huge abundance of the molten magma is there. So if you see the crust, earth crust, the crust 5 to 56 kilometer, its thickness is very less in ocean. See, 5 to 11 kilometer, whereas in continent 35 to 56 kilometer. That's why these oceans are the weak point where the volcanic eruptions generally frequently occurs. It is consist of the mixed metals of the silicate, ultra basic rocks, and density generally 2.6 to 3. As you go to the from crust to core, the density increases, the heaviness increases, the mantle mantle, it is comprised of the rocks which density is 3.5 to 4.5 megagram per meter cube. Whereas in core, if you see, it is comprised of the precious metals such as nickel, iron. The average density of this is 9 to 12 megagram per meter cube. And if you look to the interior of the earth, there are this, it is composed of the solid, liquid, and gases. All these three phases are present in this interior of the is earth, exterior of the earth. This solid, liquid, and gases three phases, all the three phases are present. And we will take up this solid, liquid, and gases. Solid phase, that is what we call as the lithosphere. Liquid phase is the water, and again, this is the interior of the earth. Crust, mantle, and core, these are the interior of the earth. But if you see the exterior of the earth, this three-phase system, solid, liquid, and gas. Solid is the lithosphere. Lithosphere comprised, this is the solid surface, which is consists of the rocks, mineral, soil, and which is almost 1/4 of the total earth surface. If you see on the area basis, the total earth surface, this is 1/4. Because, and next, if you see 3/4, this is the hydrosphere, that is the water. So water is in abundance, which represents the water surrounding the earth in sea, all the water, whether it is sea, ocean, underground water, water absorbed in the air, they comprised of the 3/4 of the total earth surface. And whereas the gaseous surface is the gaseous envelope. The atmosphere is the gaseous portion of the soil that contain nitrogen, oxygen, argon, and carbon dioxide. And this is called, as you know, atmosphere. Nitrogen is in abundance. See, this is very important from the agriculture point of view. The atmosphere which contains the nitrogen, this is oxygen is important for the respiration. Argon, these are the inert gas, and the carbon dioxide. So this oxygen and carbon dioxide, there is always balance by the wonderful mechanism of the respiration and photosynthesis. The one produce oxygen and another consume oxygen and produce carbon dioxides. So, and nitrogen is very important because it is one of the most important element for the growth, and the nitrogen fixation is, just a minute. हाँ sir. Hello. Hello. So this nitrogen, Mr. Mukherjee, are you in line?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So nitrogen we consider is important because it is very important for the, just a minute. हाँ sir. हेलो. हाँ हाँ अब आ रही.
उसको मेल कर दीजिएगा क्वेश्चन.
अच्छा, मैं बस 12:30 तक मैं क्लास ले रहा हूँ, ठीक है ना? तो ऑनलाइन हूँ, 12:30 बजे बात करूँ, ठीक है ना? ठीक. So nitrogen we consider important because plant, it require most the nitrogen, and there are many mechanism of the nitrogen fixation. Although still there is abundance of nitrogen in the atmosphere, the most needed element in the agriculture for the crop production is nitrogen. The source of the nitrogen is urea, most important source of the nitrogen. So that will, this is a pictorial presentation of the various spheres of the earth. This, you know, this is the two sphere, the hydrosphere and lithosphere. Lithosphere, you know, it is only 1/4, whereas the hydrosphere is the maximum. That is, it constitutes the 3/4. This is the outer portion, and Of course, atmosphere is it's a type of the envelope over the earth, atmosphere. And if you see the interior of the earth, there is the crust, the mantle, and core. You know, core is the 3,500 kilometer, which consists of the heaviest element. The gravity density is very high. At the same time, it is liquid in nature. The molten magma is present. So wherever there is thin surface, it comes out in the volcanic eruptions. Let us see the place of the soil. Where is soil in the earth sphere? We call it as the hydrosphere. Whatever the water, wherever it is, that hydrosphere, you know, it is 3/4 on the earth surface. Of course, this is the atmosphere, which contains the nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, and some inert gases. Nitrogen is the about 78%. This is the biosphere portion, all the living organism, flora, fauna, and that is very important for the soil formation point of view. It is the biosphere which is added at the surface, and it is the mixture of the lithosphere, that is biosphere, mineral matter and organic matter, that orient themselves into different layers, that gives the morphology of the soil. And remember that these morphological features which develop in the soil, they are not tandem. They are very scientific. They are strictly controlled by the what type of the climate is prevailing in that area, what type of the parent material is, what is the quantity of the rainfall, what is the temperature. All these things controls the development of the pedological feature. Pedological feature means soil feature. Soil feature means what? The morphology which is present in the soil. So these are the lithosphere, rocks and minerals. The rocks are composed of the minerals. The nature of the rocks depends upon the type of the minerals present in. When there is disintegration, because of the weathering, there is disintegration of the mineral, there is formation of the parent material. And this upper portion of the parent material, this what we call as the pedosphere, that is the sphere of the soil. That is the mixture of the mineral and organic material. So this thin layer is this is the place of the soil in this earth ecosystem. It is the whole ecosystem of the earth that is present in the form of that. This I have already told you that if you see the composition of the atmosphere, these are the gases, oxygen and nitrogen. These are the major component, 0.03%. Carbon dioxide, then some inert gases are there, but this oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, they are very much important for the agriculture point. Remember that we are the student of agriculture, and this, because of this, why we study the soil, why we are studying all these soil genesis, this and that. This is because once you understand the property of the soil, once you understand the behavior of the soil, what is the soil, how soil behave, then only you can manage the resources which are important for crop production. The input which you are applying in the soil, what type of the soil is, what type of the input you have to apply, what type of the crop you have to cultivate. Once you understood the behavior of the soil, then only you can optimize the crop production. That's why you are studying this soil, because your basic subject is agriculture. You are the basically all these things is studying the agricultural point of view. Now, the composition of the earth crust. What is the chemical composition of the earth crust? If you see the earth crust, it is principally composed of the mineral matter, and this mineral matter, this is finally composed of the various elements which combine together to form the compound. And minerals are nothing but they are the compound, the combination of the various compounds. Some, although some elements they exist independently without forming any compound, but almost most of the elements, they are present in the form of the combination of the compounds. So the element which do not exist, although almost all the elements known to us, they are present except some inert gases, they are present in the earth crust, and the element which exist in earth crust as such. So some of the inert gases which are not found in the earth crust. So the element which forms the combination by one or more element, it has the definite chemical composition, and that's what we call it the mineral. So that's why actually what happens when the solidification of the molten magma taking place, all the elements were present in free form. When they solidified, then these elements, they combined together according to their geometric form, or according to their geometric form, or their electrical affinity. They combined, and because of this combination of this, क्या चाहिए? क्या चाहिए तुम्हें? वो गाड़ी चाहिए था। किसने? मामा अभी बता रहे हैं कि हाईवे रास्ता कर्नाटक गाड़ी कहाँ खड़ी है? तो स्टैंड में है, ठीक। Are you in line, Mr. Mukherjee?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So should I continue?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry, there are some interruptions. So these, by the combination of two or more elements, there is form. This is chemically what we call as the minerals, and these minerals are ultimately form two or more minerals. They form the rocks. So many minerals, they combine to form the aggregates, and that forms the rocks in the form of the rocks, as I told you earlier. And out of this, if you see, almost nearly 100 element, 18 element known, 8 elements are sufficiently abundant in the earth crust, and which form about 98 to 99% of the earth crust. And this is the composition up to the 16 kilometer of the earth crust. And if you see that these elements are geochemically distributed into the 5 main group based on their bonding characteristics. The elements which are present in the earth crust, if you see, they have been generally classified depending upon their binding characteristics into these groups, say lithophile element, chalcophile element, siderophile, atmosphere. It's an old classification. And the biophile elements, biophile particularly these elements which are associated with the living organisms, which ionize readily. So this is tend to form the covalent bond, such type of the elements which readily form the metallic bond, which tend to remain in atmosphere, say nitrogen, oxygen, helium, neon, krypton, argon, xenon. These are the inert gases, the secret gases. They are called atmosphere elements. So they have been classified, they have been grouped into different groups. But this is important, as I have told you earlier, that the out of this 118 elements, 8 are sufficiently abundant. What are those 8 elements? See here, these are the 8 elements which form more than 98% of the crust. What are those elements? Because in pedology, in pedological movement of the nucleus, because this is the elemental composition of the earth crust percent by weight. Remember, this is the percent by weight, and earth crust means upper 16 kilometer of the earth crust. which we pertain to the soil, and we say that this composition is resemblance to the composition of the soil. Although the composition of the soil changes because of the addition of the organic material. But what are those elements which are present? 8 elements out of 118 elements. These are two non-metallic elements, C, oxygen and silicon. They composed about 3/4 of the, that is 46.6% and 27.72%. So almost 3/4 portion is occupied by only these two non-metallic elements, oxygen and silicon. Although oxygen is gaseous form, it is always present in combination. Most of the elements, they are present in combination. Silicon oxide, iron oxide, aluminum oxide, calcium oxide in the form of the oxide, potassium oxides. Okay. So this silicon 27.72%. Then the number comes aluminum. This is the, then iron 5%. This is 8%. This is calcium, then sodium, then potassium, then magnesium, and then the other. Potassium is an important element. You know that it is the primary nutrient for crop production. So when nitrogen is present in the atmosphere and in earth crust, potassium is present in abundance. That's why the potassium is required. We use less potassium in agriculture, although it requirement is very high, but it is present in abundance in the earth crust itself. Particularly the alluvial soils are rich in potassium, although now they are becoming medium to low because of the continuous removal of the potassium from the soil by intensive cropping. But these are the elements, and whenever we are going, so you must remember the composition of these elements, because this is important. This is important from pedological point of view. This oxygen, silicon, aluminum, iron, calcium, this is the element, and this is the elemental composition of the earth crust. Now, what is in soil actually? This is the percent composition by volume. Remember, this is the composition of the earth crust or composition of the soil also. Most of the soil, if you see the mineralogical composition of the soil, the mineral matter of the soil, and see how this mineral matter, if you see the solid phase of the soil, this is the solid phase. Almost if you bring a loamy soil, which is very good for agriculture, although there is a vast variation in soil. If you bring a sandy soil, if you bring a clay soil, it will be different. But let us take first this soil. What are soil? What does it contain? It has a three-phase system: solid, liquid, and gas. Solid, liquid, and gas. We consider a good agricultural soil that it at more almost it contains 50% of solid, 25% liquid, 25% gases. Although this liquid and gaseous phase, if you irrigate the soil, all the pore spaces are occupied by the liquid, then the content of the liquid increases, gases are scattered. So like that it changes. But what does this solid portion contain? It contain, as I told you, that inorganic and organic material. Organic material, what is the source of the inorganic material? Rocks are the source of the inorganic material. And after disintegration and decomposition of the rocks, what are the particles that we call as the soil particles that are formed? Sand, silt, and clay. And these sand, silt, and clay rocks are made up of the minerals. So what are these are called original particles, sand and silt, because after disintegration and decomposition, these sand and clay are formed. That's why the primary minerals, quartz, mica, feldspar, pyroxene, amphiboles, they are associated with this primary particle, the sand and silt particle. Clay are synthesized later on. After the disintegration and decomposition of the sand and silt particle, the clay particle are synthesized. The secondary minerals are associated with this clay particle, that is clay minerals and hydroxides minerals. Hydroxides of iron, aluminum, these minerals are present in this. And organic matter, the end product of the decomposition of the organic matter is Humus. If you remember in soil science, the clay terminology is used at 3 places. Can you tell me from where? What are the places where this clay is used? Mr. Mukherjee,
Yes, sir.
in soil science, we use clay at 3 places. The name clay at 3 places. What are those? Can you do you have idea? It's a very tricky one, but it's very important.
Organic clay and mineral
No,
clay.
no, clay itself. If you remember, how many number of textural classes are there?
There are 12 texture class.
12. The last you see, what is the name?
What's a
Sandy
clay?
Clay.
Sandy clay loam.
But clay is there, na? Texture clay. The name clay is used as a textural class. Clay is used as a soil particle. See here, it is used sand, silt, and clay. Clay is the particle. So this clay word is also used as a name of textural class, as a name of soil particle, and as a name of mineral. Clay mineral.
Yes, sir.
Keylonite, light, montmorillonite. These are the clay minerals. So remember that this clay is used at 3 places in soil, as in the form of the mineral, secondary mineral, clay mineral, as a name of mineral, as a name of soil particle, as a name of textural class of the soil. Okay. So this is the whole profile of the soil. What the soil contains: solid, liquid, and gas. And all these sides, see here, the solid is almost 50%. That contain the mineral matter. Remember, this is the volume composition of the soil, not the weight composition of the soil. Okay, almost 50% solid is on volume basis. Okay, so maybe sometime this is called 45% mineral matter and 5% is organic matter, and then this 15 to 35% is gaseous and liquid phase, water and air. This changes in the gaseous phase. So this solid phase, and if you see the this is on the basis of volume. If you draw this curve on the basis of the weight, then what will happen? The solid is more than 49%. Out of this, suppose this is 5%, this is 45% out of 50%. The solid portion is by weight, it is more than 49%. Okay, in the soil. Suppose if you analyze the soil for organic carbon, it is less than 1%. On the weight basis, less than 1%. So that's why this is the volume composition of the soil. And what are the other these things which are present in the soil? Okay. Now, with this background, let us have the abundance of the rocks in the earth crust. These are this we have discussed about what the soil contains, what type of the particles are. It is a 3-phase system, organic and inorganic particle. What is the inorganic? Inorganic, it contains sand, silt, clay, and this sand, silt, clay is finally composed of the various minerals. Okay. For the organic matter, it contains ultimately the end product of the organic matter decays. What are the various elements which are present in the earth? These 8 elements, 2 non-metallic and 6 metallic elements which constitute the major. Remember that all these elements, when you study the pedology, when you study the soil farming processes, then you have to see, you have to take in account what are this solid portion, sand, silt, clay. They are composed of the various elements. So what is the fate of the clay? What is the fate of this sesquio oxide, iron and aluminum oxide? What is the fate of silica? What is the fate of this other particle, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium, the elements which are released during the weathering, whether they are accumulated in the soil? If they are accumulated in the soil, rainfall is very less, then the soil become alkaline, as in soils of arid and semi-arid region, as in our areas. you will find the salt affected soil. But in high rainfall area, what happens? These basic cations, once they release by the weathering, they leach out of the profile. That's why soil become acidic in nature. Okay. So let us have abundance of the rocks in the earth crust. What is the abundance? That is, this is upper 5 kilometer of the earth crust. Okay. Remember that this is the abundance because there is a huge variation. So if you take upper 5 kilometer of the earth crust, then you will find this composition. Sedimentary rocks is 74% and igneous rocks is 18%. Okay. But if you take earth crust as a whole, then the scenario will change. Igneous rocks is 95% and sedimentary rocks is 5%. Why? Because the weathering is active at the contact of the lithosphere and atmosphere. Okay. When the water percolates to the lower layer, then how weathering is? What are the various agents of the weathering? Various chemical reaction, oxidation, solution, hydrolysis, hydration, and most of these chemical reactions, they requires the temperature, they require the oxygen, they require the moisture. Suppose you put an iron rod in the open where there is abundance of the moisture, abundance of the oxygen, the decomposition, the rusting process will be very fast. Okay. And if you put that iron rod in the safe places, the rusting will be process will be very slow. So the area which is in contact, the upper area of the lithosphere which is in contact with the atmosphere, and this atmosphere is rich of all these weathering attributes, say the temperature, the moisture, so all these things. So that's why it instigates, it brings is speed up the rate of the various chemical reactions, and that chemical reactions brings the weathering of the material. That's why sedimentary rocks are more in the upper 5 kilometer, although at the time of the formation of the soil, there was the formation of the only igneous rocks. This is the primary rock. When there is solidification of the molten magma, while solidification of the molten magma, this igneous rocks was formed first. And this is the source of, as I told you earlier, that all the other sedimentary rocks and the metamorphic rocks. But if you see upper, this is the 74, and out of this shale is the most abundant. 52% sandstone, these are the sedimentary rocks. 15% limestone, calcium carbonate, dolomite, calcium magnesium carbonate, this is 7%. Whereas igneous rocks, they are less, that is 18% less in abundance, of course, because this portion is it is in contact with the weathering agents. So granite is 15%, basalt 3%, others the total 100%. So granite is the most abundant rock in igneous rock, whereas the shale is the most abundant rocks in the sedimentary rocks. And this is the composition of the earth crust. But remember, this is the composition of the upper 5 kilometer of the earth crust, not earth crust as a whole. Now let us see the composition of the earth crust as a whole. It differs significantly. How it differs significantly? Here, the igneous rocks is 95% and sedimentary rocks is only 5%. Of course, shale is the maximum. So this, because lower, if you take earth crust as a whole, the total earth crust, definitely this igneous rocks will be high, because initially there was 100% igneous rocks. After the solidification of the molten magma, first rock which have been formed by the solidification, that was the igneous rock. So that's why if you take as a total, igneous rocks will be more. So although this sedimentary rocks, it forms only 5% of the total earth crust, but it is very important. Why? Because they occur almost 74%, almost 3/4% near the surface of the earth, that is upper 5 kilometer of the earth, as I have told you earlier, as I have shown you earlier. And as we go deeper, the predominance of the igneous rocks increases. Igneous rocks, and why this important? Sedimentary rocks upper 5 kilometer, because this is important because of the soil point of view. The upper portion of the earth crust is the seat of the formation of the soil. It is the soil which is present at the upper portion of the earth crust. Okay. So this is the composition of the abundance of the rocks in earth crust. If you take upper 5 kilometer, or if you say if you take in total the earth crust in total, the total earth crust. This can be shown by this pictorial diagram. Okay, this pictorial way. Oh, can I take 2-minute break, Mr. Mukherjee?
Yes, sir.
Okay, okay, 2 minutes, yes, 2 minutes. फोन कर दीजिए तो आओ बुला देना Okay, Mr. Mukherjee, are you in line?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let's continue. This is what I told you earlier. Actually, this is the pictorial presentation of that. This is upper 5 kilometer of the Earth crust, and this is the Earth crust as a whole. That it contain about 95% of the this igneous rocks, and then 5% is the only the sedimentary rocks. This type of the sediments that has been deposited, sedimentary rocks. Where this is about 74%. If you take upper 5 kilometer, is the 5 kilometer of the Earth crust. This is 74%, and this is the rest 18%. Say this is the igneous rocks and other rocks also, maybe the metamorphic rocks. So this is the pictorial presentation, nothing else. Yeah, this is the wonderful pictorial presentation of the whole pedology, whole realm of the pedology. If you'll see that stages of the soil formation, from here you can understand. We'll start later on pedology, but here you try to this diagram is just presented. Just you have prepared it just to connect each and every things of the pedology, starting from its molten magma to the formation of the soil. How everything is connected with each other, this is very important. That must be understood, then only you can have the good understanding of the pedology. So if you see the stages of the, see in the bottom, this is the stages of the soil formation. See, this is the constructive phase, then destructive phase, then this is the constructive phase. Although in books only you will see these two phases, destructive phase and constructive phase. But I consider is that this is also one of the phase. That's why in one of my chapter that I presented, I prepared this diagram that is published by the Indian Society of the Soil Science. Have you seen that chapter? There is a book. Have you seen the recent publication of the soil science? Indian Society of the Soil Science?
Sir.
So soil science, an introduction, that was published in 2015, particularly.
Yes,
Okay?
sir.
That appeared in 2015. So there is a chapter, soil genesis and classification.
Yes, sir.
So that's myself and Dr. Chandran from National Bureau of the Soil Survey and Land Use Planning. So while writing that chapter, I made this diagram, prepared this diagram. So here I try to connect all the sphere of the soil science. There is one book also that is quite a useful book, that is Soil Analysis. That you have seen that book?
No, sir.
So that you should also purchase that book. That is the recent publication that appears almost 1 or 2 months back. That book is also edited by me. I am there. So that book is the soil analysis that include each and everything of the soil analysis. That is quite useful book. You can see if you come here, it is with us. That book is also very important for the students. Okay. So
Yes, sir.
let us take this. Initially, as I told you, that initially Earth was a molten magma. So you consider it, this is what is this? This is just to depict the molten magma. The Earth was in molten state. So in molten state, this molten magma, molten state, all the elements were in, as I told you, that all the elements were in free fall. Okay. And these are the elements that I have shown, that which are abundant in the earth crust. Although there are almost every elements are there, this is argon, except some this inert gases which are present in atmosphere itself. Oxygen, silicon, aluminum, iron, calcium, magnesium, sodium, potassium. This I have shown only just to show that their abundance. They are abundant. They are more than 98% in this molten magma. That's why they have been shown. So all the elements, although many other elements are there, so all the elements which are present in the molten magma, when there is cooling and crystallization of them, so this was a loose, this was a fluid, and there is no any organized body. Molten magma was the, so from this molten magma to the formation of the bedrock or rock, this we consider as a constructive process. From one unorganized body, there is formation of the organized natural body. That's why I consider it as a constructive process. And this rock, this is composed of the minerals. So what is mineral? The combination of generally two or more elements. When two or more elements, how they combine? If you see the synthesis of the minerals, so these minerals, when the solidification of the molten magma, cooling and crystallization of the molten magma taken place, then the elements which were present in free form in the molten magma, they combined themselves. And this combination was by two way. First one is on the basis of their electrical affinity, say calcium oxide, on the basis of their electrical affinity, and second was also on the basis of their geometric form. Say SiO4, the silicon H4 and oxygen SiO4, there is still 4 charges unsatisfied. SiO4, oxygen 2, so 8 and 4, but still there was a stable structure. How this stable structure was formed? Because this there was the two region by sharing the neighboring structure silica tetrahedra. So by sharing this electrical affinity, the negative charges of the electrical affinity that has reduced, or it has been satisfied by the cationic elements they have been absorbed in that crystal lattice, and that negative charge was satisfied. And because if you see the silica, the oxygen, one oxygen, there is 4 silicon atom, they can satisfy, they can be tagged around that. That's why this is called SiO4. So, but here this you will study in that other course. So, this solidification of the molten magma, there is formation of the rocks, and these rocks are composed of the minerals. So, nature of the rocks depend upon the type of the minerals present in it. So, this is the bedrock. So, first stage I consider is the constructive, and these rocks, the upper portion of the rocks, which is in contact with atmosphere and the lithosphere, that form the weathering front. This is called weathering front. Weathering front means what? The contact point of the atmosphere and lithosphere, where the moisture present, the temperature, various forces, wind, water, air, all the forces they interact on that surface, that leads to the disintegration and decomposition of the rocks. That's what we call it the weathering front. And looks, if you go beyond this, there will be the downward movement of the weathering. Here the weathering front, now the weathering front goes here, here the weathering, see the downward movement goes here, and here the weathering front goes here. So it goes down, weathering front goes down in the successive period of the, maybe this soil formation, this all the process may be 1500 years, it may takes place by completing the layers in the profile. So this is the constructive process, but from rocks to the formation of the this parent material. Sea horizon is the parent material that we consider as a destructive process. Why we consider it a destructive process? Because the rocks, by the action of the weathering, weathering is what? Simply the disintegration and the decomposition of the rocks. So this disintegration and decomposition of the rocks by physical, chemical and biological. So weathering agent have been designated as three type of weathering: physical weathering, chemical weathering and biological weathering. Although the nature of the change is only two types, either physical or chemical. In biological weathering also, bioagents are the means of the weathering, but the change that will be brought by the bioagent, that will be either physical nature or of the chemical nature. So this, because of this weathering or disintegration decomposition, there is formation of the parent material. What is this parent material? This parent material is formed by the disintegration and decomposition of the rocks. It is composed of the mineral matter. It is a inorganic material. It is a loose unconsolidated material. Jenny defined this parent material as the state of the soil system at the time zero of the soil formation. From here, the soil formation starts. Then upon this parent material, there is action of the soil farming factors and soil farming processes. So the soil, this soil is a product of the combined. That's why it is said that soil is a product of the combined interaction of the soil farming factors and the soil farming processes. What are soil farming factors? There are 5 soil farming factors, and these soil farming factors Jaffe categorize into 2 groups: active factors of the soil formation. What are active factors? Climate and biosphere. And the passive factor of the soil formation: parent material, relief, and time. These are the 3 passive factors of the soil formation. So these 5 factors of the soil formation, and these are the processes of the soil formation. Factors of the soil formation are fixed. Till date, there are only 5 soil farming factors which have been identified. Although earlier there were 3 soil farming factors: parent material, relief, and this time that was added by the Jenny, the climate, the vegetation, and parent material that was identified by the Dakichev earlier. This relief and time later on added by the Jenny, that we will study later on. So, but soil farming factors are only 5, and one fact is also that these soil farming factors, they act simultaneously for the formation of any soil. That is important. And another thing is that the factor means what? Factors has ability to change the effect, the nature of the product. What is the product here? Soil is the product. It means any factor, whether it is climate, whether it is biosphere, whether it is parent material, whether it is relief or time, they should have ability to change the characteristics of the soil. Say for example, soils which are on upland, they are different, which are on lowland, they are different. That's why this relief is a factor of the soil formation. Soil in which are in cool climate, soil which are in desert, they are different. That's why climate is a factor of the soil formation. So that's why grassland soils are different. Some prairie soils are different. So that's why these factors have ability to change the nature. What are the nature? Physical, chemical, and biological nature of the soil, because they govern the rate of the addition of the organic matter, rate of the reaction, disintegration, decomposition of the mineral and organic matter, their movement, what is the amount of the rainfall, how much rainfall, what is the parent material, whether it allows the movement of the water, because I told you that water movement through the profile, all the conditions are favorable. If the parent material is very clay, it will not allow the water to percolate down the profile, then there will be no soil development. So another fact is that this soil farming factor, they set the stage for the operation of the soil farming processes. Say for example, fertilization, there are different sets of the requirement. The soil should be in cold, humid climate, coniferous type of the vegetation, parent material, sandy, siliceous nature of the parent material. So they favors the operation of the part. It means the soil farming factor. Although soil farming processes, they are nothing but simply the reorganization and rearrangement of the soil constituent into different horizon. That is what we call it the soil farming processes. They are also called pedogenic processes, and pedogenic processes are always governed by the pedogenic factors, soil farming factors. Okay, is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so these soil farming factors, they act simultaneously for the formation of the soil, whereas there is no instance where in the nature where all the pedogenic processes are found in a particular soil. Maybe in one soil there may be one pedogenic process. Here I listed only 3 pedogenic process, specific pedogenic process. There are many other pedogenic process also: laterization, fertilization, calcification, salinization, alkalization, these all are the pedogenic processes. Okay, so these soil farming factors and soil farming process, when act upon this here, then in due course of time there is development of the soil. This sea horizon, upper portion of the sea horizon, it is changing. It is how it is changing? Because of the addition of the organic material, it is changing into a horizon. Okay, and then in due course of time, this A horizon, some material has moved and deposited into the B horizon clay, so there is formation of the B horizon, maybe other horizons also. So A horizon B, so this is more developed soil, this is mature soil rather than this soil. A horizon, this is a immature soil, this is less developed soil. So this A and B horizon is called Solam, whereas A, B and C horizon is literally called Regolith. That you will find in Brady book and other book also. But if you consult the book of the, this is at the UG level, but if you consult the book of the pedology, say the Sahgal and other books, there the regolith is considered equivalent to only C horizon. Why? Because this regolith is considered entirely different from the this soil material. Soil is different, although this sea horizon parent material is source of this soil, but it change in such a way that you cannot identify even same type of the parent material if they are put into two different climate. Why that's why climate is called active factor. If the parent material is same, it is put into two different climate, one is warm humid, one is cold humid, the two different type of the soil will form from same parent material. You cannot identify, because after the formation of the soil it changes entirely, everything changes. Okay, so that's why this C horizon and A and B horizon. So C horizon is considered as equivalent. Parent material is considered as equivalent to regolith. It is not a pedologist considered is that C horizon is equivalent to the regolith. Parent material is equivalent to the regolith. Now the question is, so this is the constructive stage. From rock to formation of the parent material, loose and consolidated material, we consider it as a destructive stage. Then from this loose and consolidated material to formation of a well organized natural body, which is always in equilibrium with prevailing soil forming factor, this was always considered as the constructive stage. This is called mature soil, this is a mature soil, and this C horizon is the parent material. Now what is the difference between soil and its parent material? How you can differentiate it? Let us have the difference. C horizon, it contain only mineral matter. Okay, it contain only mineral matter, or it contain only the inorganic material, whereas A and B horizon, the soil contain mineral matter as well as the organic material. It has very intense biological activity, whereas C horizon has very sluggish biological activity. Maybe some bacteria may be there if some material is there. So this is A and B horizon. There is intense root activity because the roots are proliferated in this A horizon, and here the root activity is good. This is a soil is a, it has an organized morphological structure which have been formed under the influence of the prevailing climate or prevailing soil forming factor of that area. Whereas C horizon, it has no any organized morphological body. The biological activity is very intense, nutrient release, and it is more fertile, it is less fertile. Okay, the crop production will be higher if this layer is removed. That's why it is called that soil is a precious resource of the nature. If it is vanished away, then this layer, this is the productive layer of the soil, and the sea horizon is not so productive. It will take time to be the productive, to rejuvenate it will take a lot of time. That's why the soil is called as the precious resource. It is a non-renewable resource of the nature. So I think this connection of the where you will study how this weathering is connected, how soil farming factor is collected, how soil farming process. So once the soil is formed, then we will study about the classification of the soil. Okay. So that is all clear to you, Mr. Mukherjee?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So let us stop the class here. Okay.
Okay, sir.
And we will meet in the next week. I will take here today. I took half an hour more intensely because last class was missed. Okay.
Yes,
So
sir.
I
Yes.
intend to cover that. So in the next week we will proceed further. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Thank you. Thank you for attending the class.
Thank you, sir.